What's up, guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at a PvZ build. It is a little bit of an all-in. I'll start with a replay of just the build, and I'll talk about the build, and then I have two games which I played against my friend Ian Blue, in which I'll show how to execute it, even though the execution is rather straightforward. So it's a 5-gate glaive adapt build into Dark Shrine. And the Dark Shrine really only works as a insurance, as some sort of insurance. So if you don't kill your opponent with your 5-gate glaive, with the adepts, you can always kill him with the DTs, and otherwise you can just expand afterwards. Actually, sound level should be fine. So we start this game rather standard with just a 14 pylon down at the natural. Then the next thing we do is a 16 gateway into 17 gas. Scout after gateway. Make sure that it's a hatch first, or at least no 12 pool, and then you can continue with the build. If it's a 12 pool, you want to do a different response to that. I'll have a video out on that at some point in the future as well, on how to defend early pools, but for now, stick with your own response and don't do this build order. So, we scout, arise at 120, 117. We start rallying into gas. We always keep 16 workers on the minerals, so don't put 3 workers into gas immediately, just rally into the gas. Once you're 19 out of 20, or 19 out of 23, your next probe gets rallied to the natural rather than into the main. This is the probe that will build a nexus. So you see 16 on minerals. Then after I rally to the natural, I put my rally back on the gas. I'll build a nexus and a cybercore with the same probe. On 20 I build my cybercore, and then I'll restart probe production, and the probe that built the nexus and the cybercore will go into the gas and fill this gas up nicely. And this is a nice way to do it. All fits into each other. You don't have to pull probes off of minerals yourself. This can all be done by rallying. Then at 21 you build a gas assimilator, and at 22 you build your second pylon. Here we go. Usually around 2 minutes you want to leave your opponent's base, or you patrol your probe in front. In this case you can just send it home, it doesn't matter too much. Once your cybercore finishes, your pylon should also finish. And once again we're rallying into this gas. As you see, we always keep 16 workers on minerals. We're not immediately sending 3 into gas. The moment our core finishes, we start chrono boosting an adept. And we start our warp gate after we build our Twilight Council. So it's around 225-ish, which is completely fine. After this, we get a Stalker, which we chrono boost from our gateway. And we continue probe production all the way through. We have 1 chrono boost on probes. And the next big thing will happen once we start our robotics facility. So once we start our robotics facility, see it? 150, 100, we pull 3 workers out of these gases and we send them toward the natural to increase mineral income. And this is important so we can afford all of our gateways. At this point we will never chrono boost our probes again. All of our chrono boosts will be going either into the robo or into the Twilight Council. Now do note, at this point we don't have enough money for the glaive upgrade yet. First we're going to get 2 extra gateways, then we'll get the glaive upgrade. So there's a good way to see when you need to build the gates. Gateways usually take 40, well, they always take 46 seconds. So you want to build your first 2 gateways at around 54 out of 100 of your warp gate. So you can just hover over this and usually it will show you how much time there is left. And at 54 out of 100, you should build your first 2 gateways. So send your probes there a little earlier. And then your next 2 gateways will be built after you build your glaives. Continue probe production all the way through. Get your glaives, perhaps chrono boost it, or actually first chrono boost, sorry, goes into your prism. So about 20 seconds after you build your initial gateways, you build gateway 4 and 5. And at this point we're gonna have a little probe cut at 39. And we build our prism, which we will chrono boost immediately. After this, all of our chrono boosts will be going into the glaive on the Twilight Council. After prism, we build a pylon, resume probe production, another pylon, and then we get double gases. Now, these double gases are necessary to afford our Dark Templar switch, and also kind of necessary to trick our opponent into that we might be playing a DT drop or something else macro related. Well, actually, we're just all-inning. Now, at this point, once our natural is fully saturated with probes, so 16 probes on minerals, we start back in the main base, rallying into the 2 gases here. If you feel like that's too difficult, you can just select through probes and then go back to rallying on the minerals. Might be easier. Once our first 3 gates finish, you see, they all finish as my warp gate finished, and you just warp in 3 adepts. You started with 1 adept, this adept should be back home, and you just pick them all up in the prism, and you fly to a spot for the next warp in. Once gate 4 and 5 finish, and then you should be able to warp in 5 adepts at the same time. Now, I only put 2 guys in gas on my natural, and then rally in a little more. Get another pylon, so I'm sure that I can warp everything in. Here comes 2 extra adepts. Here comes 3 extra adepts, now we're at 5. And after the first time you warp in 5 adepts, you build your Dark Shrine. Build it at the natural. Here we go. And your glaive should finish about when you hit your opponent's base at like 450 with 9 adepts. And at this point you shade in. And just keep warping in. Adept. Round after round. Make sure to get pylons. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Just go for it. And see, eventually your Dark Shrine finishes as well. You're just owning in with your adepts. And once your Dark Shrine finishes, you can also warp in DTs, which is obviously fantastic. Here we go, 3 DTs. Now, what can you truly do against this? Not that much. So, nice quick win. Do you want to accept? Yes, easy. Alright, so this is the first game. Now do note that you can transition out of this, but it's difficult. You need to do a lot of damage, you need to kill a lot of workers. But you do have money, you have good saturation, you have 42, 43 workers. You have a robo, you have a twilight already, so if you kill our 3rd base or whatever and you kill 10, 12 workers, you can transition out of it if you don't manage to kill him. But most of the time that's not necessary, as you will be able to kill him. Now I have 2 replays which show this build order, in which I will skip the build and will just go straight to the part on the unit control, show how to do it. Ian Blue is, I believe, around 5.8, 5.9k MMR Zerg, so relatively high, I guess mid Grandmaster, something like that, rank 50, rank 60. So I'll skip the first few minutes, as we just, you know, did all of that in the previous replay. Now we'll get to the unit movement. The way you want to do it most of the time is you want to shade into the main. You walk towards the 3rd, you shade into the main, and then you decide whether you want to finish it or not, depending on what is at your actual adept and what kind of units does he have in the main. So that's an important thing. And you see these gases are kind of for fake. If he scouts with an overlord, he's like, hey, what is this? Is this an all-in? He does scout with a 2nd overlord, but most of the time they only have 1 overlord there. No. Alright, 445. My glaive's just finished, 9 adepts. Now, the problem with this build is that you don't have perfect vision. So you don't really know exactly what to do. Like, you can never know. In this case, I probably should have let the shade finish and either go into the natural or the main and kill a bunch of stuff because he was pretty supply blocked. But I don't know that. So we will just, most of the time you want to kind of play it safe with this. What you want to do is you want to walk in between the natural and the third if possible, then shade to the main and walk towards the third base. And then just start attacking the third base. That's where you'll do your, basically your second big warp in as well. And then once the second warp in finishes, you do the same thing again. You just shade to the main base. And if you can still, the rule I keep most of the time is, if I can kill everything here with the units that I have, most of the time I stay. I don't want to go away from a winning fight, because you're not sure what you're shading into. So in this case, I'm like, well, he has 3 roaches and 2 queens. I have, what is this? 13 adepts. That's a winning fight for me. I do not wish to leave that. Now, these 3 roaches, even though they're annoying, they're not really gonna change it too much, you know. It's 5 roaches, I can warp in 5 more adepts. This is still a winning fight. Now that those roaches start coming out, it's 7 roaches already, so it's getting closer to becoming a bad fight. Now what I do here is I just shade. Whoop. And now he needs to make a decision. Do I go back or leave my natural open? He decides to split up his units half-half, so I cancel once again, because 4 roaches I can kill very easily. Then I just kill the third base. And at this point, once you kill the third base, it becomes even easier for you, because you just start threatening the main base and then walking into the natural. Now, here once again, I'm like, well, I'm winning this fight, why should I leave? Just keep killing his roaches. I won't even need the Dark Templars in this case. I mean, I can kill these roaches, shade into the main. He GG's out, only had a couple of roaches remaining, we're even in bases. If you can't kill him at this point, I just take a natural or a third base, start chrono boosting immortals and get some sentries, and it's a very easy game from there. As long as you keep the prism alive, you can put some pressure on your opponent. So this was the first time he played against it as well, so it was a very difficult one. I allowed him to watch the replay for a bit and come up with a decent response, and this is the second game I played against him with it. And this is what he did, so let's have a look. He opts for a roach defense, which I think is the hardest defense to play against. Most of the time if you play against Ling Bane, they don't have the Banes ready in time. And you just kill all their Lings initially. The ideal thing you want to see is Lings, because it just means he can defend. Lings are awful against Glaive Adepts, especially if there's no, you know, no support, no queen support, no nothing, just pure Lings. Against Lings you always want to shade in between minerals or in corners, but ideally in between mineral lines, because Lings are really bad at fighting clumped up adepts. This of course changes once Banelings are out, then you kind of want to spread them out, but yeah, that's for a different time perhaps. So chrono boost on the Stalker, chase away these Zerglings, which they always run by. This actually is a mistake, what I do here. You shouldn't copy this. I don't think you should go in with your Adept, because you don't want to take damage on this Adept. You want to play an as clean game as possible. You might want to scout the drone count on the natural, or just fake going into the main, but you don't actually want to take this much damage, because then this kind of shenanigans might happen. He runs by with some Lings and he gets the scout off. So even if this does get scouted, I think I can still beat anyone that is below top 30 Grandmaster. I think I can beat anyone in the world with it if it doesn't get scouted, because it's a very powerful build. But it should be fine even if it does get scouted. It is a very, very powerful build if executed properly. You hit very tight and there's a nice little... no, it's a double punch basically. It's a good combination. The glaives into the DTs, which usually aren't very expected. Now, of course he expects it because he watched the replay and he knows exactly what's happening. But we're gonna assume your opponent isn't exactly on top. And even if they are, it's fine. Don't forget, this guy is very good that I'm playing. And he's gonna die a painful death. So here we go. We only have 8 adepts because we lost the one, 445. Now, we see a free queen. We shade into the main. We see 4 roaches, 4 Lings. We don't really want to go with 8 adepts into that, because there could be 2 more roaches popping here and 1 more roach here. That would not be fantastic. So instead we decide to just walk towards the third base once again. Warp in 5 more adepts. In this case 4 more. Kill the queen, and then here we go again. Now I see nothing on the ramp. I see one roach going back, and I see him chasing with a bunch of roaches. And I'm like, I think we can finish. And we definitely can. There's nothing popping in the main. He needs to pull away his drones. Once Zerg starts pulling away their drones, usually it's very bad for them. Because they start losing mining time, they won't be able to afford constant roach production. And also they'll need to start rebuilding drones, which you never want to do while you're being all in, you know? It's pretty bad. Yeah, this wasn't the greatest shade. Even though I'm not entirely sure how we should have done this. So if we just go back, you see this shade. I kill a lot of drones. I think I shaded out a bit too early and I went too low. I should have just ran out all the way and then shaded back into the main base most likely while I run towards the third. So basically what I do now I should have done immediately, but I didn't. So now we should shade towards the main base, then walk to the third. Unless he's chasing you, then you can just walk away. Finish the shade. We're having a good time. After you kill all the queens, or the majority of the queens, your prism can get more aggressive, by the way. Most of the time I keep my prism in the back or in between bases or with my adepts. But once you kill all queens, it's okay to kind of start using the prism in an aggressive way. You can go into bases, drop adepts there. So like I do here, like send my prism to the natural, then back to the third. And I just warp in adepts, or once your Dark Shrine finishes, you can start warping in DTs. Where's his detection? No spores here. Just an overseer in the main. I kill the main base. He does have a good worker count, but almost all of them are on the natural. There's very little over here. He's just gonna lose absolutely everything. Now, I can say one thing, and that's that he actually did manage to hold this game. Like, he doesn't die in the same way that he did last game, but look at the worker count. At the end of all of this, we're on even basis, and I'm up about 32 workers. So I don't even really need to expand, but I like to take a third. It baits out a response from your opponent most of the time. I get my immortals. I even get a new prism because I lost one. I get sentries, and just stay behind your natural wall. Get a forge. If you still have a prism on the map, that's fantastic. You can do counter harass with adepts. If he doesn't leave anything at home, you can just defend your natural wall with like a battery or two. And meanwhile, the adepts will kill everything. So him just cancelling the third isn't good enough if he only has, 20, 30 workers remaining. So here we go. This is the build. I hope this will be useful for you all. And I hope to see you all in the Grandmaster League soon. Bye bye.